What's up, guys? It's Patricia from tarantulaheaven.com. Today I wanted to share with you a clip that I actually stumbled on by accident from America's Next Top Model, and this is basically what not to do with tarantulas in the modeling world. If you're new here, I do have a Chilean rose hair in here named Spidey. She's in our underground tunnel and she's been there for a while, so I doubt you will see her, but definitely check out my other videos to see her in action. So anyway, you know how like sometimes you end up down the rabbit hole on YouTube and all of a sudden starts recommending things to you, and I guess they know that by now I really like spiders and tarantulas. And so YouTube thought that I would really like this clip on America's Next Top Model. It's a much older episode. Not sure exactly when it's from, and it's a show that I never really watched, but I obviously did watch this episode and I was quite horrified by what I saw. So the premise of that show is that it's a modeling competition. I believe it's by Tyra Banks and her team. And in this show, these newer models, they get selected and they compete to be America's Next Top Model. And they have to go through all of these modeling challenges. They have to go through like making commercials. It's basically a test of like, can you take really good pictures, kind of sizing up your modeling techniques, and also putting the girls in some pretty crazy and dangerous situations to just see how they deal with those situations and how they perform under pressure. I know that some of this stuff has been very controversial, where they've put the girls in like very cold water, and I think one of them actually had a medical issue because of that. In this episode, they were doing kind of like the same, where they're really testing the girls and the limits that they will go to actually be America's Next Top Model. In this episode, and this probably might even be the worst, but they decided to have the girls pose with a live tarantula. It looked to be a Chilean rose hair. I'm not sure if they actually said the species on the show, but that's what it looked like to me. And it was just a very disrespectful activity to force the girls to model with the tarantula. And I'm not talking about just the tarantula being in the same room as them or like sitting on the couch with them. I mean, like, they had this tarantula crawling on the girls' faces, which is like, you know, it's a no-no, crawling on the girl's shoulder, crawling on the girl's hands, and all the while they're in full makeup. They have to be taking professional photographs that they're going to be later be judged by. So it was just a very unsafe scenario for both the girls and the tarantula. It didn't seem like there was any animal expert on hand. Nobody was educating the girls about the tarantula to kind of put their mind at ease or let them know how to react to the tarantula, about the tarantula's body language. They weren't taking the proper precautions. These girls are very tall and they are standing up, and the tarantula is crawling on their face. So if that tarantula fell off their face, that tarantula is falling at least 5.5 feet to the ground and is probably going to die. Not to mention, most of these girls were terrified. There was one girl who was like basically having a panic attack, almost to the point of like hyperventilating. She started to cry during this exercise, and that is just not right. And I wish that, well, one, I wish this had never happened to that girl, because I do believe that we should respect people's fears and their phobias. But I also wish this hadn't been shown at the same time, because I think it really does reinforce that spiders are scary and traumatic, and that it's traumatic to have to interact with them, which it can certainly be if you have a phobia. But they really zeroed in on this one girl, which I think was not helpful to her. And also, like, it minimized many of the other girls who had very peaceful interactions with the tarantula and very neutral interactions with the tarantula and didn't find the tarantula that threatening or scary. And I imagine that they chose the Chilean rose hair because it's generally a docile tarantula. It's not a very fast moving tarantula like the OBT. As far as the likelihood of it biting, probably not as likely as other species, although some people will say they have moody Chilean rose hairs or G. roseas. So I think they chose the spider for a reason, and it was a very calm spider. But I can only imagine how that spider felt, having been handled many times and being put on different girls, being placed on their face and other parts of their body. And I'm sure that the spider could in some way sense the vibrations around it, or maybe that the girl's skin is tensing up underneath it. Now, I imagine it was probably scary for everybody. So I think it reinforces the wrong idea about spiders. I also think it was quite disrespectful to the spider and the girls. The spider definitely was not being put in a safe environment. In fact, they were probably put in a very unsafe and scary environment, because at any point, if this spider made the wrong move by accident, and it's not trying to, but it's a spider and doesn't know where it's going, any of those girls could have gotten spooked and flung it off of them. These girls were not trained. It's very unsafe. And I also just think this is so irresponsible of the show, because we have better ways to do this, right? I think this whole like fear factor kind of thing, and like the shock value of reality TV, and oh, we have to do this thing, it's like so pranky, and it's just so unnecessary. Like, for example, something that I was thinking of, I'm not a graphic designer anymore, but my first degree was in graphic design. And you can literally Photoshop a tarantula onto a girl and make it look very realistic. Like, this scenario was not for a video, so there's no reason why they had to get a live tarantula and put it on the girls. You could have gotten a fake one and put it on the girls for the picture. It's not like you needed to get it in motion or anything like that. Like, this was really just for TV and to make these girls miserable, and to test and just push these girls to their absolute limit. I don't think that they have to do this stuff in the actual high fashion modeling world. So they could have taken these beautiful photographs of the girls where the girls are feeling completely comfortable, and they're not in any, they don't feel like they're in any danger. And then they could have just imposed the tarantula onto them after. You can do amazing things in Photoshop, as you guys know. You can add shadows. You can change the lighting so that it matches the photo with the girl. You can do all sorts of things. So because these were still photographs, there was no reason for a live animal to be in this shot, a very small live animal. Like, there are people in the modeling industry whose job is to literally Photoshop things into a scene if you haven't gotten the right shot. So unnecessary. I really feel like, especially the one girl, was unnecessarily tortured. I think her name was Eve or Eva. I think she was actually the one who won that episode at the end. If my memory serves me correctly, I'm not sure about that, but she was crying. She really had a tough time, and the show like put her in such a situation where she was judged by the other girls too for the way she was reacting to this. And I cannot imagine an industry where you are forced to do something that is actually mentally or physically harmful to you, and you don't really consent. I know it's a contest, but I think that if those girls had known what they were gonna do, they probably wouldn't have signed up for that competition, or they would have been able to prepare themselves for that. I don't think that is and I don't know this because I am not a model, but I don't imagine that any of these top models who actually win this competition and have access to these like well-paying jobs or high-profile designers have to be so desperate that they would take or agree to a job that they felt was going to put them in danger. I know that industry is very manipulative and it's a hard industry, but I don't think they're actually making people photograph with bugs crawling all over them. And I can't even think the last time I scrolled through a magazine or saw an ad and there was a spider or a snake or any other animal crawling on a girl. Like, I just feel like this was just for show. Anyway, so rant over. I hated this episode. I felt really sensitive and sorry and sympathetic to the girls who had to go through this. And I also wish that they had actually done a bit more to ensure the safety of the animal. I think that it's really terrible when we use animals that can't consent or not consent. and that we put them in unsafe situations because we don't feel like that it will make a difference for them. But yeah, people could have been hurt in this scenario, the spider or the girls. And I do believe that for those who actually were very afraid of spiders, this might have even had a traumatizing or lasting impact on them. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. If you've seen that episode, I'm going to link the clip down below so that you can see what I'm talking about. And I will see you next week for Tarantula Tuesday. Take care. Bye.